Hello. Oh, I never did this. It's really weird that you can't see the audience. It's weird. Never done this before. So I don't know about you guys, but I know that I'm listening to speakers and I'm inspired. I think probably everyone's inspired. I know I'm looking forward to the inspirational softball Fridays in Central Park, Mr. L. And I think we should take, Ms. Bernasconi has gotten us on the right track, but I'm not sure the 80-20 initiative is the best thing. I'm looking forward, Mr. L, to Google, modeling ourselves after Google with the gourmet cafeterias for the faculty and the game rooms for the faculty. Because that's really what I take out of reading about Google's success. Now, I'm not here to tell you not to go to college. I know that's sort of what the title implies, and the real title of the talk was why it may not matter what you major in, it may not matter where you go to college, and maybe you shouldn't go to college, at least for now. We had to apparently shorten that title because it didn't fit well on the page. But I liked it, so I said I had to say it. And those of you who've had me in class probably heard bits and pieces of this speech, because sometimes I get on my rants, and this is one of the things I think we do, is we send everybody to college. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, my 4 years in college were amazing. I loved college. It's great. I learned a lot. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to college. I'm just saying, why does everybody want to go to college just because? I mean, I bet if originally I was going to say by a show of hands how many people are going to college, then I realized I would have no idea who put their hands up because you actually can't see the audience from out there. So I'm going to skip that. But I'm going to guess, having looked around the audience and knowing many of you, that many of you are going to college. And that's a good thing, and you deserve to go to college. But what I'd also venture to guess is almost none of you, not none of you, but almost none of you thought about any alternative. And that's really the crux of what I'm trying to get across is, why didn't you think about an alternative? I mean, everyone thinks of college as an individual choice, right? I'm going to go to Penn State, or I'm going to go to Harvard, or I'm going to go to Towson State, or wherever you're going to go. And that's an individual choice. It's not an individual choice. And we have to get over that. You're going to college, many of you, because that's just what you do. That probably none of you ever thought of doing anything else. And all I'm asking is, why not? Maybe we should think of other things. And I'll be honest, I didn't think of anything else when I was going to college, when I was ready to go to college, because I grew up much like you, and I'm glad I went to college. But I think we send too many people to college at the wrong time. There's sort of a rush to go to college and then a rush to career. And if there's one thing I would change, now maybe not going to college, but I would, and I didn't come right into teaching, and it's a great profession by the way. I'm glad so many speakers have recognized that. But I took a little bit of time, and I'm glad I did. And I did some non-traditional things. Probably one of the best and most educational things I did after college was I managed a swimming pool for years. And by the way, you learn a lot doing that, so it's a great job. But most recently, they've judged that about 66% of all grads go to college. So that number probably sounds a little odd in a school where we send 97% to college. And probably, or whatever it is, and probably some of those people who don't go to college, that 44%, they probably should go to college. And it's too bad they don't. And we need to figure out why we're not sending some of them to college. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. Of those 66% who go to college even, some go to 4-year schools, some go to 2-year schools. 56% of all students, this to me I think is an important piece of data. 56% of all those students who go to college, who go to a 4-year college, will graduate from that college within 6 years. 44%, I think I got the math wrong before, it was 34, but 44% then of those people who go to a 4-year school will not leave with a diploma within 6 years. Now, I know most of you are expecting to get out in 4 years, some 5, but within even 6 years, which is somehow an important statistical measure, 44% won't even get a diploma. Only 29% of all students who go to 2-year schools will get their 2-year diploma within 3 years. So we're sending a lot of people off to college who won't complete the journey. And you really have to think about that, because even though statistically you would get about 10% more earning in your lifetime, this is good, 10% more per year of education after high school. And there's no doubt that if you measure success by monetary gain, that in general, overall, college has a monetary payoff. You'll do better the more college you have. But how much better? Is it really worth it to go to college if you're not going to finish? Now, I know everybody says they're going to finish, but that's just not true. some of you in this room, and certainly some people in this school, of which I said about 95, 97% will not finish college. Partially because I think there's such a rush to go. Maybe they don't really want to go. I think there are people who don't really want to go, but they're going because you're supposed to. Maybe if they took a little more time, went out and did something. You know, England and other countries like England, Mr. L talked about what they do in other countries. Sometimes we can learn. They take a gap year. I venture to guess, it was another thing I was going to ask for hands-on, but it won't work because I won't see them. Did anybody consider a gap year? When I gave this speech, okay, I do see somebody waving. Who is that? Is that Amelia back there? Yes, okay, so Amelia's taking a gap year, I knew that. But other than that, people didn't. When I did this speech in my third period class, I asked, nobody had considered a gap year. I venture to guess, some people don't even know what a gap year is. Go off and do something fun, you know, be changed by the world. So all I ask when it comes to this part of the talk is, maybe we need to think about why we're going to college. Nothing wrong with going to college, it's a great experience. And yet, then we got to choose the college. Okay, let's say you're going to go. It's a great thing you're going to go. So these are some reasons that I've always heard people pick a college. I'm not going to go there because it doesn't have my major. I didn't know people own their major, but it doesn't have my major. This one too. My parents don't want me to go. And I get it. Your parents are probably paying for school. So parents, you can ignore this if you want, if you're out there, but because you're probably paying for school. But parents aren't going to school for 4 years or 5 years or 6 years or whatever it is. You are. It needs to be somewhere that you're going to enjoy so that you can, as so many of the speakers have said, be inspired to do something different, to enjoy it. It needs to be somewhere where you're going to like. Or it's too far, or it's too close. Those are just... And then this maybe I'm getting into, you know, Mr. Covert's realm of physics and space and stuff. But those are just, that's some random stuff. You can be close and never see your family. Tell them not to come to visit you. You could be far away. No, it's true, I did. And they didn't. No, it was great. I went an hour away and I never saw my family, and we're closer than ever. Not because of that. Or you go far away to see another part. You know, it's not that far. I mean, for some people, I get it. There's financial prohibitions. But if there's not, take advantage of the fact that you can. And I have in my room, in my classroom, if you've been there, banners. I have about 40 banners up. I ask students to bring them in for where they're going or where they've visited. And here's something that's telling. Last year or two, I've started to get this problem with the banners. You have all my banners. You have all the schools I'm even looking at. And I hear that over and over. And what that says to me is, our Clarkstown North graduates are looking at a very small number of schools. A very small number of schools. There are over 3,000 colleges and universities out there. We should be broadening our horizons to look at more places. There's a lot more out there. Okay, so then you get to college. I know I've been here long, I'm going to move it along. You get to college, and is it really any good? Well, for the first 2 years of college when you're supposed to be learning, they now say, and this is a reputable study, that as many as 45% of students show no improvement in critical thinking skills in the first 2 years of college. So I'm not sure what we're doing, but clearly we have to question, is college, if that's what we're going for college for, are we really getting anything out of it? And when you're choosing your college, does it matter that much? Well, yeah. I mean, we could argue there are certainly benefits to certain colleges. Although a Princeton University study tells us, tellingly, that if you take the same person, it doesn't matter where they go to college. The reason Ivy League students tend to do better, it's the type of people who choose the Ivy League, not necessarily always the Ivy League itself. So if those people, for financial or other reasons, decide to go somewhere else, they're likely to do just as well. This was a great stat. I love to throw little stats out. A lot of you probably know who Warren Buffett is. You know, everyone wants to be as successful as Warren Buffett. Who wouldn't want to be? I mean, the guy's got like $70 billion. Every couple of years, he beats out Bill Gates or some sheik for the richest man in the world. And Warren Buffett did. He chose college, like many of you. He was very smart, so he chose to go to the University of Pennsylvania. And then he decided, this is not for me. And he went back home to Nebraska and went to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, which I'm sure is a good school, but certainly nobody here is going to say it's Ivy League like UPenn. Well, I don't think that held Warren Buffett back too much. On that same article, and I'll just run through a couple of these, not the whole list, if you consider success, you've got to be successful. you're going to make a lot of money if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. If any of you become CEOs of a Fortune 500 company, I think we could use some new fields and things like that because you'll have the money. Number 5 on Fortune 500 is Bank of America. Their CEO went to Georgia State, which accepts 52% of its students. Number 7, AT&T CEO went to the University of Central Oklahoma, which accepts 69% of all applicants. Number 8 is Ford Motor Company. Its CEO went to the University of Kansas, which accepts a whopping 91% of students. Almost anybody can get in there. This guy did pretty well going there. Number 16, AIG went to Alfred, and they accept 70% of their students. Number 18 went to the head of CVS, went to URI, which is 78%. And the number 19, the head of the number 19 company on the Fortune 500, Wells Fargo, went to St. Cloud University, which accepts 76% of its student body, its applicants. So really, you can go almost anywhere and be successful, especially if you want to define it as monetary. But still, you could do that anywhere. You could do whatever you want. So you get to college now, and what are you going to study? Well, you better study your major because, of course, at 18 years old, you know exactly what you want to do. Right, Mr. Covert? You know exactly what you want to do. You want to work for IBM and never leave there for the rest of your life until you become a teacher. So you don't know what to, or even, I'm inspired by Ifoma's story about, all these things she wanted to do, which was actually, I turned to Miss Cat and said she's stealing my speech because that's a lot of what I was going to say, is you go through all these things you want to do, and she's inspired by something she did as an activity. And that's really important. Something you do as an activity. You may go off, I'm going to be a bio major, really, and then you, for some reason, because you liked Model Congress or Model UN, in high school, join the Model UN club at your college and wind up deciding to major in international relations. The average number of college student major changes, meaning when you get there, you pick a major. How many times, someone tell me, how many times do you think people change their major? The average is 3. So the average is 3. Some people never change it, others change it 5, 6, 7 times. So why are you so sure that you're picking a school based on having your major is really the best way to go when it's likely that's not even what you're going to wind up studying? And this is where I'd like to kind of draw it together. So what if you do study it? And by the way, I do have a caveat. That doesn't count so much. If you know you want to be something like an electrical engineer or some sort of engineer or something, there are times you need to study that thing because you have to have that major. But so many other things, you don't have to do that. My wife was a sociology or American Studies major. She has a master's in sociology and a master's in education, and she publishes her own magazine, which has nothing to do with anything that she studied in school. So really, how do you know what you're going to be? I was reading an article, which I really love the article, so I was going to really try to find a way to tie it in. It was about the earliest innovations in photography and how early photographers would take random pictures of people, and then during the Civil War, they would go around and people would buy pictures, not of their loved ones, because there wasn't likely to have one, it was early photography, but of somebody who looked like their loved one. They'd have just stock photographs, and people would buy them. And do you really think the guys who were selling those photos and taking those photos 20 years before, when they were, say, 18 years old, had any idea that they would be selling photographs? They would have said, what's a photograph? What's a camera? They didn't necessarily exist, or maybe they were in their early ideas. Did Neil Armstrong have any idea that he could be an astronaut who could fly in space? Probably not. Maybe we were starting to talk about it, but really, probably not. There are so many things out there that you can do that, first of all, you may not need to major in anything specific, and second of all, even if you do, they don't even exist yet. So why are you so worried about what you're going to major in now when your job at 40 might be something that doesn't even exist yet? I always tell the story of my former student who actually now happens to live down the street from me, and he's talked to some of my classes. He's an air marshal. You all know what an air marshal is, right? They carry a gun on a plane to hopefully keep us safe. He was an art major. He loved art in high school, went here, went to study art, and then somewhere about sophomore year he said, I want to be in law enforcement. So he became an air marshal. So you could do really whatever you want. It doesn't really matter what you study, just have a passion for it. And here, I know I'm repeating what everybody said, but have a passion for what you study. Go find a place to study that you enjoy and really enjoy immersing yourself in learning. And you'll find, I didn't graduate from college with a teaching degree at all, or even thinking of teaching. It wasn't until 5 years later. And so many people, it's not just teaching, whatever. You can always go back and study something, but really find something that you love, that's going to make you happy, and that's going to inspire you to inspire other people by your passion for it. Thank you.